Jesus Christ! I mean, surely you're not that naive on the left, are you? What do you think? How do you think the world works? Do you think everyone believes in trading equitably among each other? Do you think if Britain showed weakness to China, that China would not take advantage of that? Russia, so on and so forth, even America itself? Get over it! You're like children the way you go on. Oh my God, there's corruption in the government. Oh my God, there's no transparency in our political. You're bloody morons, for God's sake. How do you think we won the 2 World Wars? Ye fools put the argument forward that the Japanese and the Germans were superior fighters. If they were superior, they would have won the war, fools! Jesus Christ, you bloody morons! Get over it, folks. Grow up. The greatest threat to the Western world at this moment is, in fact, the threat of freedom of speech. But I'll tell you, folks, I've been speaking here for 6 years. Do you know how highly I regard freedom of speech? I don't regard it very highly at all. I take, however, what I do regard very highly is my right to offend you. If that is taken away from me, then my freedom of speech means nothing. Nothing. And I can assure you that is under direct threat today. We've seen this week a right-wing commentator, Milo Yiannopoulos, his Twitter feed taken off him, his Twitter account taken off him. Thank you very much, you're entitled to your opinion. His Twitter account, because they didn't agree with his political views. Now I remind you folks, the man that spoke to me before, he says don't trust the Guardian, don't trust the Daily Express, don't trust RT, don't trust BBC. Of course, media platforms are going to be biased. That is not their fault, that is part of the human condition. You'd be a bloody moron to think any human being is going to present an argument with an unbiased opinion. Anybody that believes these platforms is a bloody idiot. There's no reason why I have to sympathise with anyone's views as opposed to mine. As long as we can all disagree on something and understand this one basic rule. As long as we don't use violence to incite our way to get our opinions across, it's a free-for-all. You're entitled to your opinion in this country. This is what we fought for. You're entitled to offend people. People that are offended don't have the right to throw a petrol bomb on me because of my views. You have a question, sir?
Yeah, well, you can't get arrested though if you speak certain
Thank you.
that people don't really want you to sort of say.
Thank you. And increasing. The man is after making a very clear statement. Yeah. You do not think that freedom of speech is a universal right in this country. And who here can tell me I'm wrong? How many of you have ever made soapbox speeches in the most famous place in the world to make a soapbox speech? Do you think that I can make this speech outside Buckingham Palace, folks?
Yes.
No, I can't. And I've tried it, sunshine. I tried it, sunshine. I'm speaking up from experience. I was told to move on, sunshine. And I can assure you, when the Royal Marines were storming the beaches of Normandy for freedom, they weren't told, we're fighting for freedom here, here, and here. No, they were told that it was universal freedoms. So don't anyone be fooled by thinking that freedom of speech is a universal right in this country. It is not. And believe me, if you do believe in freedom of speech, then be prepared to fight for that freedom of speech. Believe me, I didn't ask anyone's opinion here when I got up. You have to accept it. That is my right. Anyone that disagrees with me can piss right off. There's plenty of religious fanatics and left-wing fanatics here. They'll romanticize your political degenerate points opinion. Now, the greatest threat to the Western civilization, as I see it, is in fact, do you have a question, sir? Is it a question or a statement? Is it a question or a statement?
Doesn't matter.
I'll take questions. I will not take statements.
Okay,
if you want statements, get your own soapbox. Now I'll continue. I will continue. The greatest threat to this, the greatest threat to Western civilization is the regressive left who want to take my right, to offend them away from me. And as I say, we've seen a sharp move in that direction this week with Milo Yiannopoulos' Twitter account. Accepted. Now, what is very important to remember, when we initially gained the technology for the printing presses. It was a revolutionary moment. And remember how revolutionary it was.
You lost that one, didn't
When
you?
we had the technology, Christendom was the only one that had the technology to print religious rhetoric. But when the common people were able to be, when religion was able to be printed in English, for example, it was then that the common man was able to decipher it for himself as opposed to the pulpit. Now that had a revolutionary change on the society here in the Western world, driven predominantly, or to a large degree at least, by English culture. And that was a good thing. That was a very good thing. Now, it was deemed at that time that an educated person is educated in the field, so therefore you should agree with them. Now, I get this argument here on speakers all the time. People ask me, are you educated in your opinion? Now, I'll tell you what, I'm a carpenter. That's my job, that's my profession. I don't have a degree in economics, philosophy, political studies, or so on and so forth. And I often get this argument from Western people who say that they are Democrats themselves. They say, I don't have the authority to have an opinion. And this is the state of democracy here in the Western world in 2016. Unless you're educated, or should I put it more accurately, indoctrinated by the establishment, you're not entitled to your opinion. And here we go. The death of the Western world. Here we go. One time a bastion, a leading light in the world. Believe me, the Enlightenment was the greatest step the human race has ever taken in the right direction. Ever in the right direction. And I defend in values, one which is my right to offend people and freedom of speech, one of the core pillars of the Enlightenment. Now, as I said, it is deemed when we had technology and the early newspapers came out, the sun might back the right, the mirror might back the left, so on and so forth. Why does a newspaper have to be transparent? If the Sun keeps romanticising the right's argument and your views are left, then just don't buy the Sun. It's as simple as that. Buy a newspaper that romanticises your values. Why does everyone in the right or in the Sun have to change their opinion regarding you? I ask you this simple question. Now, I was on jury service about 6 months ago, and this is the state of democracy in 2016. The regressive left say we all have to agree on everything. Why is there so much debate? Why can't we just agree? Why? Why do we keep talking about this and going around in circles? That is exactly the point that we're able to express our opinions. That is exactly the point of Western civilization, that we're able to exercise the mechanics of the Enlightenment. When I was on jury service, tell me this, would it be right? There was a man defending his innocence against rape. Could you imagine the defense and the prosecution conversing with each other? Let's not make two best arguments and let the jury decide. Let's all agree. Let's just the prosecution and the defense say, I don't know, what do you think? Maybe he looks like a nice guy, it's a bit of everything, so we'll all both make the same argument. No! Let the right make their argument, let the left make their argument, and let the jury, which is you, decide when you make your ticks in that ballot box. That is what a healthy democracy is. What an unhealthy democracy is when you have a fully centralised political system, which we had in this country up until relatively recently. The Blairite period, could anyone distinguish what was the difference between the left and the right? Up until Gordon Brown was kicked out of office, or should I say David Cameron more recently. I very much encourage what is happening to the British political system as I'm making this speech. There is something beautiful happening to it. I put it to you that the British political system at this moment is the most progressive, democratic system on the face of this world at this time in 2016, because it is finally returning to a left and a right paradigm, which I think is healthy. Now, I do swing towards the right. There is where my value is. However, you may think it's a contradiction that I support Jeremy Corbyn in the left's sphere of influence. The reason I do is because Jeremy Corbyn is genuinely from the left. Owen Smith is not. Owen Smith and them 172 MPs are Tories. Now, I've no respect for any Tory trying to masquerade itself as some kind of a lefty. That is unforgivable. If you are a Conservative, then be proud. Stand up like a human being, not on all fours, trying to pass yourself off as a sheep in wolf's clothing. Now, that is why I support Jeremy Corbyn. So we have a clear left paradigm, and that is why I support Theresa May, so we have a clear right paradigm. A true, healthy, functioning democracy. That both people make their arguments. You have a question?
Mr. Speaker, how about the libertarian versus authoritarian being the most salient division in politics now? Basically, they're all authoritarians.
Okay.
Would the principal fault line in modern politics not be one between authoritarian politicians, left and right, and libertarian politicians, left and right?
Okay.
Is that not more productive?
Well, no, I disagree. No. I am not asking us for us to reinvent the left, or should I say, invent a completely new paradigm. What I'm asking for is
that is the modern paradigm.
Okay.
That they're all authoritarian. They want all one bigger government.
Yes.
And there isn't that much difference between them.
Yes.
But there is greater difference between a libertarian.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I could even break that into a further argument. I could say, and some people have made this argument, that the left and right paradigm is a defunct institution. What we are now witnessing in the United Kingdom is the people that voted in and the people that voted leave. That is the true different two now emerging paradigms. I disagree. The reason I say that is for the majority, or should I say the larger part of people on the right wants to leave the European Union, the larger part of people on the left want to stay in. But I am merely assassinating this romance that the left pushes all the time, that the right believe in cutthroat capitalism. Yet